Shalom, my friends. Welcome to another Sitting in the Word, which I hope will soon become another Walking in the Word. I don't know, we've been having some very warm temperatures for the second half of February, and if that keeps up, hey, maybe I can get outside and get some fresh air and some good exercise again soon. It's going on 8 o'clock. Look at that beautiful train. This is Russian made, 100 years old, and I got a hold of it and had a Russian watchmaker here locally tweak it up for me, and it runs really well. It has the same inner workings as a Rolex, so I don't think it gets much better than that. I got some cool things, very cool things to share with you today, my friends. First of all, last week, and I think the week before, I was talking to you about a duo I had in the early 70s called Wood Post. David Wood, Alan Post. And we did one recording session when we were out in California. Talked about that too. And there were three recordings that came out pretty nice. And I have free MP3 downloads for you beneath today's video. You can go down there, and if you just click on the link, it should open a new browser window, and you can save that as a favorite and then just go there and play it on your browser whenever you're on the web. Or you can right click the link and save as, you know, and then save it to a folder or your desktop and have it on your computer. In the order that they were written, the first one is called Whirlaround. Oh man, this takes me back. Whirlaround was written, where are we? 1969. So this is probably the earliest song I've released to you so far. But Whirlaround, oh, this is interesting because half the song was written in LA and the second half was written when I got back to New Jersey. The first half I wrote while I was still in LA getting ready to go back to New Jersey. I was in LA, I think it was my second trip out to LA, and Mark and I and a couple of other, or one other band member, Mark had a rock and roll band called a Band of Angels, I think it was. At any rate, the three of us were sharing an apartment on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. I was 18. Yeah, it was my second trip out. And well, I have a note here about the tuning on the guitar, and it says the high E string was tuned down to a C sharp. That makes no sense to me at all. I mean, a lot of times you'll tune the high E string down to a D, but a C sharp, I have no idea. But at any rate, it's all about, you know, well, you know, I gotta go, my time is running out, seems my boots need another shine, I'm going back to the railroad tracks down in New Brunswick town, Los Angeles, flight number 29. I think I might still have a note paper in one of my guitar cases with that flight information still written on it. Oh, these thoughts just never end. Da 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 da. They just keep whirling around, whirling around, whirling around, whirl around in my mind. Lord, I said. Of course, if I was writing that today, it would be Adon. I said whirling around, whirl around in my mind. Now here you'll hear me and Dave. Next verse. Just some more details. And then we get over here. This is what when I got back to Jersey, I finished writing the song. Yeah, here I am in town again. Nothing ever changes. Da 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 da. Whirlaround. A wonderful song. And I'm so happy that I can share it with you. And you can hear the Everly Brothers kind of harmonies that David Wood and I had. The next song was written January 1st, 1970. So I was still 18. I didn't turn 19 until February. Oh, this one's called Like a Fool. Mark was talking about this one a lot, and I know why. If you listen, it goes, time is but a piece of rhyme, like a grief in the, right here, blackjack's night. It goes to an F sharp chord, and it's a musical movement that almost no one on earth would ever do. And I mentioned, I think it might have been last week or the week before, that we were being offered a management deal in New York City. And this guy heard me. Somebody's calling. Oh, that was Mark Palladino. Sorry, Mark. I'll call you after I get done shooting this. He just left me a message. Evan's coming back up tonight from San Diego. Of course, it's only 5 p.m. out there right now. And they're going to go through the weekend and wrap things up. So, more songs coming, my friends. Anyway, this song, this gentleman from his management company in New York City heard us singing this, and when he heard that F sharp chord, it set him back, and he figured, you know, here's somebody very unique and unusual, and he started paying attention to our performances. And in fact, he brought we did a very big gig before we went out to California at a theater. And he brought in a lighting engineer from New York City, and wow, I mean, we did that show, you'd have thought we were famous. People, during the break, we were out in the lobby, and a crowd of people surrounded us, you know, and it was, we were really on the top of our game, and I guess you can hear it here, but here we go again, looking happy or satisfied like a fool. When I heard this one, it really surprised me when David Wood, I'll sing a line or a verse, and then we'll do harmonies, then David Wood will sing a line or a verse or something like that. When I heard his voice, I was like, wow, it almost sounds like mine, and that's where there's that very unusual match in tonal qualities that made it so special. I have one note here on the bottom. It says blackjack equals oak tree. So I don't know. Time is but a piece of rhyme, like a grief in the blackjack's night. That has something to do with an oak tree. I'm not sure what the song Time has been a piece of rhyme. Lonely searching for a smile. Once we sat and sang a song that brought us back and made us long for a smile, like a fool, like a fool, like a fool. I would guess that this song is just talking about, as Solomon says in the book of Ecclesiastes, there's no satisfaction in this world. And I would say that that's basically what that song is saying. finally, the third song is titled With a Song. It says, inspired by such pretty eyes of a girl. I imagine we were doing a gig and there was a girl in the audience. And I don't know, the look in her eyes inspired me. So that night, March 15th, 1970, and at that point I was 19 years old, I went home and wrote this. Here I am singing again, come sit down by my side. Seems like a dream, can I touch your dream with a song? Oh, shine on with a song. So yeah, it's a love song to a girl I never met. Now, there's more coming. The message Mark just left me said that he and Evan were going to be pretty much wrapping up phase 2. Phase 3, I'm not sure. There's a lot of things that we've been talking about where it can go in various directions, where we might have some other musicians come in, sit in. You know, Brad Scott plays a Hammond B3 organ, and we may, if there's a song that's shouting Hammond B3 organ, we might send Brad a file and have him sit in. We might have, you know, percussionist, bass. For me, that means fretless, jazz-trained bassist, cellos. Who knows, you know? It could even lead to Mark coming out here. There's supposed to be a pretty good recording studio just a couple of blocks away. I haven't been there, but I've heard a lot about it. We might go in there, and I might, I don't know, go out and get myself a new guitar and go in and record some new things. Abba knows. We are both very clear on understanding that we don't know nothing. We don't know what we're doing. Abba Father is doing this, my friends. I'm absolutely sure of it. Boy, if you listen to the last live stream we did with Brad Scott, we talked about how Abba Father is in the business of restoring. That's what he's, all of history. He's restoring man to his original plan. Well, how strange that 50 years ago, Mark and I created these recordings, and you know, there's a lot of stories to tell about them, but here we are 50 years later, and the way it all came up was in this Walking in the Word series. Go back to number 25 and go to 26, 27, and you'll see every weekend it just evolved from me singing a song called Bumblebee. We don't have this one, so that might be one that I redo to re-record. But I sang it a cappella, and then I started talking about, oh, gee, you know, me and Mark 50 years ago, yada yada, all these songs. And every week it kept progressing, and it just evolved on its own. There was no intentions placed on it. This has all been the work of Elohim. I don't know what he's doing, but I suspect that these could be a number of projects that go out there, and this is not Christian music, you know, so to speak, although in a way, in a greater way it is. But it will capture the attention of the secular music industry. It will draw people in a secular sense, and if it becomes really popular, and people fall in love with Alan Horvath and his music, and they want to know more about him, what do you think's going to happen? They go to the internet, and there's only one thing for them to find. More than 700 videos teaching the true intention and the correct understanding of the Father's Word that people have been starving for thousands of years. I'm guessing that is what Elohim is up to. Time will tell. Now, next to that, I want to talk about loving others as you love yourself, because, and I think we covered this over a couple of weeks. It started back in one of the live streams. Somebody asked about, how do you love others as you love yourself? But they had a second question in there about in the last days people would be lovers of themselves. What's the difference? And I never got to that part, so that's what I'm going to cover this time. Because I've already clarified in Mark chapter 12 verse 31, we are told to love others as you love yourself. And in order to properly understand that command and execute it in your own life, you can't do it yourself. That would be works. It can only be done through the indwelling Ruach, the indwelling presence of the Father, who works a work in you to bring it out to others. And in that work, you learn who you are. And in doing that, you love yourself. Not in the sense of like looking in the mirror and prepping, oh, let me fix my mustache, and not like that, but to see how we are fearfully and wonderfully made by Elohim. Oh man. Wow, I just get so worked up about that, because honestly, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are magnificent beings. I covered that last week. But then it says, and this is from 2 Timothy chapter 3, in the last days people will be lovers of themselves. Now, that is not talking about the same thing. That is talking about, oh, look at my beard, oh, look at my hair, my hat, my glasses, and ooh, I, me, mine, lovers of themselves. It's a sick kind of love where, you worship yourself, you esteem yourself, not Elohim. You don't look at the magnificent work and creation of Elohim. You just you want to be worshipped. It's the original sin of Satan, Hashatan, of wanting to be God, wanting to be above Elohim, wanting to get people to worship you. In the last days, 2 Timothy chapter 3, people will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful and proud, abusive, disobedient to parents. Same thing would be disrespectful of elders, older people, not having any respect for an elderly man or woman, ungrateful. Most Bibles say unholy. That means undedicated to our Creator, unkodesh, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, and without self-control. That one always jumps out at me, because when you look at the fruit of the Ruach, When you look at the fruit of the indwelling presence of the Father, this is how we judge believers, by their fruit. There's a list of fruits, and the last one, which would be the one that comes with the greatest maturity, they are listed in order. The last one is self-control. No one can have self-control without a mature indwelling of the Father's presence. So, those kind of people, they're completely incapable of loving others as they love themselves. They would never even consider it, because that would just totally dismantle everything they're trying to build, which is worship of themselves. So that's not to be confused with that. Those of you who have been paying attention to all of my videos over the past 2 or 3 months, there's been this ongoing thread about the barking dog who I kicked across the street. And the dog stood over there barking at me, and I said, but he ain't coming back over on this side of the street. Now, that to me, I called him a barking dog because to me he was being a lover of himself. He showed no concern for me and my feelings. He was just making demands on me right out of the chute, never having been introduced to me before. And I kicked him a big boot in the little butt. I disciplined a disobedient child. And now, you know, I didn't hate the dog, so there was nothing to forgive. A disobedient child, you know, children sometimes they do some disrespectful things. You discipline them and you teach them. I'm firm and harsh when I teach children. But you don't hate them. There's no need for forgiveness. There was nothing that I was unforgiving about. I didn't like, oh, that's it, I'll never forgive him for what he did to me. That thought never even entered my mind. There was nothing to forgive. There was just something that needed discipline. That's all. Well, the child moaned and whined for quite a while. Sometimes you gotta let him do that. The dog kept barking across the street. Well, earlier today, the little puppy came over with his tail between his legs, and he's looking up at me, like, very carefully and cautiously, fearfully approaching me, and with his eyes saying, I'm sorry. And now I'm picking the puppy up and I'm petting him. It's okay. Rob Stone, my friends, called me today and left me a very apologetic message. He apologized fully and asked my forgiveness. Well, Rob, I hope you'll see this. I forgive you totally, my friend. In fact, there's nothing to forgive. You didn't hurt me. I hope, well, you said you forgive me. I know I hurt you, but it wasn't in a cruel or a mean way. I was disciplining you like a little child because you were acting like one, my friend. That doesn't mean I don't love you. I do. And I don't need to forgive you. You didn't hurt me, but for the ears of your own heart, I say, I forgive you wholeheartedly. And there's much love, my friend. I'm so glad that I don't know what happened. Rob took down his Facebook page, he took down his YouTube page, he erased everything he's done in the recent past. And I imagine, if you ask me, that's all the result of many prayers. We've seen changes, my friends, from your prayers now in the life of Rob Stone. Praise Elohim and his mighty berachot on every one of you for praying for Rob. Same thing goes out to every one of you for praying for Mark Palladino. We've seen some wonderful things, and that ain't over with yet. Keep praying, my friends. So, you know, that's the deal. To love others as you love yourself, you first have to gain a knowledge of who you are in Mashiach, and you have to gain an understanding of what the Psalm, the Tehillah, means when it says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. There's eternal revelation over that. When you get a grip on that, then you can love others as you love yourself. Then you can love others, seeing them as being fearfully and wonderfully made. 2 Timothy chapter 3, in the last days people will be lovers of themselves. That has nothing at all to do with Mark chapter 12 verse 31. Nothing. It has to do with the wickedness of those in the last days. They are just going to get nastier and nastier and nastier. And once we are gone in the Netchatef, and the tribulation is full blown and things really get unreal on the earth, these being spoken of in 2 Timothy chapter 3, they're just going to get more angry and more hateful. They are going to curse Elohim for their situation. Two totally different subjects, my friends. And that's our sit down in the Word for this week. Elohim's mighty berachot on each and every one of you. Until next time, you know the drill. Keep your wicks trimmed and keep your lamps ablaze. Shalom, Chavarim.